You know, it's interesting that in 2025, a lot of people are still filing K-1s. They can be a good visa, but here's why I don't recommend that most people go with the K-1 visa anymore. First of all, they're more expensive. So with the K-1 visa, you're looking at close to $3,000 total, and that's if you do everything yourself. Once you count the filing fees, the medical exam, travel, it's not a cheap process. Two, once your beneficiary comes to the US, they won't be able to work or travel. So, in order to work, you need an EAD, which could take up to 8 to 12 months to get. So, you'll basically have another mouth to feed. Now, if you're okay with that, that's no problem. But just know that when she gets to the US with the K-1 visa, your beneficiary is not going to be able to do any sort of work or travel because in order to travel, she would need to apply for advanced parole, which also takes from 8 to 12 months. Number three, K-1s get more scrutiny. So the government considers a fiance a lesser commitment than a spouse. So if there's anything with the case that is shaky, like a criminal history, or maybe she was a model before, something like that, you're going to have a lot more scrutiny on your K-1 visa than you would a spousal visa. Speaking of scrutiny, if there's an issue with the income, if the income is not right where it should be, you're right on the margin, something like that, I always recommend you go with the spousal visa because number one, many embassies don't even allow co-sponsors, Manila being one of them. So if you don't qualify and you get to the embassy stage, because that's where that's actually checked, you'll have to start the process all over again with the spousal visa because they will not let you do a co-sponsor in the embassy in Manila. Other embassies are also the same way. So if the income is kind of funny, make sure that you file for a CR-1 or IR-1 visa instead. Okay, and then there's also more steps. So in order to get a K-1, you have to do the petition and to get the K-1 visa itself, and then you have to go through an adjustment of status process again. And the current administration has required that all adjustment of status must go through an in-person interview. For a long time, those were being waived, but not anymore. All adjustment of status petitioners must go through an interview. That's going to be two grueling interviews for you and your beneficiary. Okay, and then the most important reason is they're not that much faster anymore. So a while ago, previously, the K-1 was much faster, and that's actually why the visa was invented in the first place. However, USCIS is deprioritizing family-based immigration, and so it's not uncommon now for K-1 applicants to wait a year or more. A spousal visa, it takes roughly about the same time, maybe a little bit longer, but the reality is it's roughly the same amount of time. And like I said, if she gets a CR-1 or IR-1 visa, she'll be a permanent resident right away. She can hit the ground running. She'll get a social security number right away. She can get a driver's license right away. She can get a bank account right away. With the K-1 visa, you don't have those steps. So it's actually going to be more expensive, more time consuming, more paperwork, more headache for you if you do a K-1 visa. Now, for some couples, if the extra month is something that's important, that's fine. But this video will help you to have a better understanding of whether or not you should do a K-1 versus a CR-1 or IR-1 visa.